Which stock should I buy? Shall I get in on Bitcoin now? These are all the questions that often pop up in our heads when we hear the word finance. But before we get into these complicated questions, there are some basic financial mistakes people make that will lead them to financial hardship. So today, we're going to talk about the top 3 most common financial mistakes people make. And if you are having trouble managing your money, steering clear of these mistakes could be the key to survival. The first common mistake when it comes to personal finance is people prioritizing paying off the wrong debt. Deciding which debt to pay off first is something all of us will need to think about some point in life, because most of us have debt. We all enjoy swiping credit cards to acquire whatever we desire in a shopping mall. It feels wonderful to be able to purchase things we desire, doesn't it? But then, before you know it, you're thousands of dollars in debt. And like everything in life, debt comes with a price, and that price comes in the form of interest. The higher the interest rate, the more you'll end up paying for your debt, which means the longer it takes to pay off your debt. For example, assume you have a credit card debt of $5,000 with an annual percentage rate of 18% and make the required minimum monthly payment of $150. It would take you approximately 9 years to pay off that debt, and you will lose around $2,000 in interest over that period. That's why, if you have outstanding debts and find yourself with disposable income, you might want to pay off your debt as soon as possible. But what if you have multiple loans, like student loan, credit card debt, or card loan, or even a mortgage? In that case, which one of them should you prioritizing paying off first? One common way to think of this question is the snowball method. The snowballing method is a popular debt repayment plan that focuses on paying off the debt with the lowest outstanding balance. What makes it a great plan is that when you pay off a loan, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, and psychologically, it might feel like a big win, which may motivate you to pay off even more loans. But the problem with this method is, it ignores an important factor in achieving debt-free completely: the interest rate. Ultimately, interest rate determines how expensive your debt actually is. The more expensive it is, the longer it takes to be 100% debt-free. Another strategy we can use to settle outstanding debt is the debt avalanche method, which is to pay minimum payments to all debts and use any extra cash to pay off the debt with the highest interest rate. This method helps you minimize the total amount of interest you pay, but it requires a lot of discipline and mental power to stay on the course. For me, I think both methods are great, and ultimately, it really comes down to our psychological makeup and whether or not paying off small debts will give you the motivation you need to make more repayments. The only thing to watch for is high interest debt, which to me is anything that is higher than 7 or 8% interest. In that case, you want to make as many repayments as you can and pay off as soon as possible. And what are some examples of high interest debts? One that might surprise you is credit card debt. Using credit cards to buy essentials have become somewhat commonplace, but be careful with your credit card as most of us tend to overextend ourselves little by little. And one day we look up the balance. It's already thousands of dollars in debt. And what's even worse is that most credit cards have an APR of at least 17%, which makes the goods we purchase using the credit cards a lot more expensive than what's shown on the price tag. Speaking of purchases, now we're on common personal finance mistake number 2, overspending. The United States household personal saving rate was 9.4% in June 2021, which suggests that a significant number of Americans are living paycheck by paycheck. They need every dollar they earn to make repayments, and if in any case they miss a paycheck, it would be disastrous. That's why it's so vital to have an emergency fund. And in ideal circumstances, this money can cover your 3 months' worth of expenses in the event of a recession or loss of employment. In the end, we are all just a few dollars away from bankruptcy, so it's always good to have an emergency fund as a buffer. To create a buffer like that, most of us tend to think of how to create a side hustle to generate some extra income. But it's actually a lot easier to watch our spending a little more carefully and save a few bucks here and there than generating a side income. For example, just $25 per week spent on dining out costs you $1,300 per year, which could go towards a few extra credit card payments. And you might be wondering, well, I don't really go out to fancy restaurants or make big purchases. but my expenses are still high every month. It's very common to see your credit card bills at the end of the month and wonder, when have you spent that much money? The answer to that question lies in the details, the small purchases. When you pick up that venti latte at Starbucks or purchase a $20 gadget from Amazon, every little item adds up. And before you realize, it's already a big sum. And this is something we all need to watch for regardless of how much we make. Whether you make $50,000 or $150,000, if you spend every dollar you're making, it doesn't matter how much you're making. But I get it. It's hard not to be tempted by materialism, especially in the age of social media. We see our friends posting about their new cars, or buying new clothes, or bags, or having another vacation. If you look around on the internet, it always seems like everyone is living a good life. And if people are truly enjoying their lives, I would be happy for them. But don't ever feel the pressure to do something just because you see someone else doing it on social media. Just because your friend bought these fancy new shoes doesn't mean you need to make the same purchase. Often, we make impulse purchases and then you only wear them once or twice before the shoes just sits on your shelf forever. And that's why it's really important to distinguish between needs and wants. Do you need those new shoes or do you only want them? Ask yourself this question each time you find yourself contemplating a purchase. If it's a need and it fits within your budget, go ahead and buy it. And if it's a want, spend some time weighing the impact of your purchase. What will these shoes do for you? Will they make you happy? How many times do you think you'll wear them? Be honest about how your purchase will impact your life, and then decide if that want is worth the asking price. If you have a hard time saying no to your shopping impulses, be sure to shop with a list. Write down everything you need so you know what you're shopping for today. Then only shop for the items only. Or you can find a reliable shopping buddy who can talk you down or at least make you cool off to think about it. For me, that's often my mom, but I'm sure you can find a family member happy to do the job. As soon as you have the perspective shift, not only will it make your financial situation a lot better, but it might also help you find out who you are and what kind of life you want to have. Maybe you just want to retire early and have a good life. Speaking of retirement brings our mistake number 3, not investing early enough. Most of us think money is the most important thing when it comes to investment. So we wait until we feel like we have a good amount of money before we start making investments. But in fact, time is probably the most important factor in helping us make good returns. As Warren Buffett once said, "Someone's sitting on the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." There's no better time to start thinking about that path than today. A tree takes time to grow, and so will smart investments. So start making monthly contributions to a passive index fund as early as you can. And by doing so, it can probably help you retire a few years, if not decades, earlier. According to a report published by Vanguard, one of the largest investment management companies in the US, a portfolio of 100% stocks would have grown an average of just over 10.2% per year between 1926 and 2019. Now, this is historical data, and it doesn't mean it's guaranteed to return 10% every year. But let's use this 10% as a rough estimate. And we invest $100 every month. It would become $20,655 in 10 years, with roughly 40% of it coming from investment returns. And this is only based on a monthly contribution of $100, which is not that big of a sacrifice to make every month. Like we said earlier, if we can manage to earn a bit more or spend less, we can easily bring that monthly contribution to $200 or $300. If you're starting at zero, make sure to invest in a tax-deferred account or your employer-sponsored plan. And there are also many great services like M1 Finance or Betterment that can help you make automatic investments every month. If you're not sure what they are and how you can benefit from them, be sure to subscribe to our channel as we'll make more videos on this topic. Last but not least, always have a plan about your money. It doesn't have to be a perfect plan, and nobody can predict what's going to happen in 20 years or even 10 years or 5 years, but having a plan or at least being mindful about how you want to manage your money is going to help you turn your financial goals into reality. And the fact that you're watching this video today is already a very good start. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about finance. We're Money Therapy, a channel about money. See you in the next one.